I am Azali. I'm helping with the One Bristol Curriculum project, which Cognitive Paths SIBS organisation is coordinating. Over to you, SIBS.
Hi, Sibusi. So, facilitator for One Bristol Curriculum, working alongside Azali, who's been doing the reports, the branding guide, and most of the administrative parts. Today's webinar is really more about the lesson plans, the scheme of work, and the quality assurance of how do we edit and how do we improve that so that there's a standardization within the lessons, within the schemes of work when they go out and when they land onto the website, which Esther Deans has really helped out with securing some funding around that. So yeah, Esther, you want to do some intro?
And I'm Esther. I'm a teacher, so this is a bit of my trade as well, which is lovely. So I've been teaching for over 25 years now. I'm the education advisor, and I'm also the chair in terms of One Bristol Curriculum, and I'm also the chair of the Race Equality in Education group. Thank you.
Kenisha?
Yeah, hi. I'm Nisha. I owe you a scheme of work for the One Bristol Curriculum, and I'm the co-creator and coordinator of the Black Seeds Network, which is an environmental and social justice network.
Brilliant, thank you. Flo?
Hiya, I'm Flo. I'm actually a learning mentor at a primary school in Bristol, but I've taught secondary in the past. So I kind of heard about One Bristol when Sib spoke at an NEU meeting, must have been like back in June. So I've kind of been lurking on the WhatsApp since then and trying to get some sort of anti-racism stuff going in my school and kind of on the union level. But this is like the first One Bristol Curriculum meeting that I've actually been able to attend. So yeah, hoping that I can be of use. But I'm working from home at the moment, which is probably quite telling as to why this is the one that I've actually had time to attend, because I've not been chasing naughty kids around all day as I normally do.
No, thank you for joining us. Azali, over to you.
Well, I'm just gonna try and share my screen.
So is everyone aware of the intention of today's meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Do you want to introduce Sibs?
No, you go for it.
So basically, we're just in the phase of One Bristol Curriculum where we've had a lot of different people, teachers and arts practitioners, historians, working on lesson plans and schemes of work for the curriculum. They've been given to us, and we are now in the phase of quality checking these. So what we're asking for is a team of teachers, education practitioners, to take a look at what we've got, see what the quality is, if there needs to be any edits made, if there's any feedback for those that made the scheme of work. And we're just quite aware that because this is a grassroots kind of project, it's really coming from the community and various different schools. There's some like stylistic differences in the work that's been submitted. We want to make it as consistent as possible and make the quality as consistent as possible. So that's what the purpose of this team is. So how do I, next slide, there we go. The task is to check the quality of the material, check the content aligns with the One Bristol Curriculum aims, which I've written below, to provide material to help children explore how different African, Caribbean and Asian communities have contributed to knowledge creation, innovation and experience in Bristol, the UK and beyond, adding depth and range to show the contribution of BME groups and individuals to all areas covered in the curriculum. And we're quite aware that there's different people that have written these schemes of work, so from different cultural backgrounds, and it kind of needs that extra perspective to just make sure that we're like presenting these quite sensitive topics in a nuanced way. And along with that goes checking language, and also checking the national curriculum links. We're really keen that all of the material that we're going to promote through One Bristol Curriculum is very well linked into the national curriculum. And some people who've contributed to lessons maybe from an arts background may have less knowledge than teachers like you. So we kind of want that extra perspective to help us link the national curriculum into the lessons. So this is the first lot of schemes of work which I'm handing over to the quality assurance team. There are a lot more. I've just done it in sections so as not to overwhelm you with information. The outcome that I'd really like for this meeting is that each of you can take a scheme of work that you're happy to work on, to check over. And although you may just take one thing for yourself, I'd quite like us to be able to set up a kind of network of a team where we can ask each other questions and provide that kind of support to each other. So you won't be working in isolation. So we can go back to this slide maybe later to have a look and see which ones interest you the most. There will be a shared drive, and I'll put whichever one you choose, a copy of that scheme of work and all the resources and materials in there with your name on it. And we'll also have some other files in there which you can work on. We may be able to set up either an email chain or some kind of way to communicate with each other as a group.
Like a WhatsApp group or something.
It could be a WhatsApp group. I don't know, that's a little bit controversial. Some people don't want more WhatsApp groups, but we can do a WhatsApp group. This is the time expectations. We're hoping that it's going to be 2 hours to check over one scheme of work, which is about 6 lesson plans. And the remuneration that our budget can provide is £20 per hour. So if you were to do one scheme of work, we would be able to provide you with £40. If you were to do more schemes of work, that would just go up. And we'd quite like to develop a style or language guide which has been started. But as you go through a scheme of work, you may pick up on something which you have an opinion about, which you could add to the guide, and the steering group will have access to this to make any final calls on things. For example, BAME, BME, we're quite keen to use pupils rather than students or children, in line with national curriculum kind of language. But particularly around the things covering race, it's quite important that we try to get the most accurate words as possible. And we'd like this to be done by the 3rd of December to give us time to feed back to the steering group with everything final, any feedback to practitioners that they need to adjust things, and then for us to hand over the completed work to the designers. My email, which most of you already know, is education@cognitivepaths.co.uk, and please do share your email. I'm not sure if I've got your email, Flo, so please do share if you can.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. And I'm also in the OBC WhatsApp group, and this is my number.
Yeah, the importance of the 3rd of December is so that we can at least begin to design the lesson plans so that they can be on the websites. We need to be able to do this so that by the time we launch the websites, as let's say phase 1 of the website, there will be 3 phases, that at least there is some content in there. And this will help us to understand how to add lesson plans and what does that look like when we do user engagement or testing the websites in terms of usability and everything else. So I wouldn't say we're flexible with changing that time because it has a knock-on impact on our availability of the design team. And then that will have a knock-on impact on how and when we get the website first phase ready. So as Azuli said, that this is just some of the schemes of work, not all the schemes of work, but we'd rather just start testing the whole design elements and getting them onto the websites so that we can at least talk about something that's tangible and people can see it and people can download for those that get involved in the first user test of the website. All right.
Can I ask a question? In terms of criteria of quality assurers, I mean, what is the criteria to be someone quality assuring the work? Is there a criteria?
So I guess we have a little bit of a common sense approach, but I wouldn't say that we've set out a specific criteria. The key thing that's kind of driving us at the minute is just involvement, so that we can be able to test the whole thing with the website designers and the graphics designers. But we're trusting on the integrity of teachers and those that come forward to, to have some authenticity of the work that they'd like to do. Right? If there's any other suggestions, and as you've been involved, Esther, in terms of that that role that you mentioned, where there's a main quality assurance person who then just double checks all the work, we still think that's very vital. But with the time scale that we have, we don't know if that will all be possible.
The only reason I ask is, as a teacher, if the work is being quality assured, I'm expecting to kind of get work that then is going to be safe for me to be in, and I might have a kind of a sense of, well, is it quality assured by another teacher that it's okay? Bearing in mind that one of the problems that we've had in the past is people creating work that wasn't right. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just wondering, when we say to people it's quality assured, they will say, well, how is it quality assured? I'm sure that's going to be one of the first questions people are going to ask us. So is it being quality assured by teachers, by practicing teachers, not just by teachers? But I mean, how will you describe how it is going to be quality assured?
So, I would say that we're only going for teachers, so it needs to be teachers who are doing this work. That's what we've asked for today, and the steering group will be involved. So it's that kind of the two-level approach. The teachers will be checking over like very thoroughly each lesson, and the steering group will have an overarching kind of view of the whole process.
But the steering group won't do any quality assurance. They will simply ask us the difficult questions, won't they?
Yes, that's right. The steering group is not necessarily involved in the quality assurance. The quality assurance is a separate group. So, if only 3 of these schemes of work becomes what people are able to take up, and we've got 3 examples that we can use with the design. The key thing is that we explore the whole process, and that process involves mainly the website. It doesn't mean that the schemes of work will be live. It just means that we need to test.
I mean, the reason I'm saying that is I'm sure we can get more teachers to do more of them, Sib, so that, if you look at Decolonizing History, Decolonizing Geography, they're prepared to give us all of their stuff, and that's all written by teachers. And that probably will be quicker in some ways as well to kind of like look at. But I know there are other teachers, so people like there's a guy, I can't remember his surname now, Rupert something or the other, he's not working at the moment. Rupert, I want to say Jenkins, he's got it in my book anyway. Tracy O'Brien. I mean, there's quite a few people who are practicing teachers. They're not here today at the meeting, but if we know people that are teachers, we could maybe follow them up. And if we have schools that are involved that have showed a good commitment, maybe it's something that we can do in terms of trying to get, more people within the school to follow it up. Do you see what I mean? And we kind of tap up the people that we know. And if the criteria is that we want them, I mean, I'm not saying that that's what the criteria is. I'm just saying, if the criteria is that you're saying they are practicing teachers, then maybe we just need to see where we can get some practicing teachers, that more of them that could go through these more quickly, because the more we have on the website, the better it is, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. So, I mean, we definitely up for the suggestions. So if we stick to practicing teachers as that's the criteria, then great. And the basis that this is recorded, what we can then do is then send this email out with the video link, and then people can listen to this and then decide, okay, cool, I want to get involved, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. So yeah, we'll definitely move that forward. Thank you.
I will, you know, I'd be happy to take some of it back to our school and ask some of our teachers to do it for me as well, because obviously, and we are an outstanding school anyway, so we're quite kind of, you know, trying to make sure the lessons are really good. So I don't mind to take some of the stuff back and see if I can get some teachers at school, and I'm sure that Bristol Cathedral would do the same.
Which one would you like to take?
I don't mind. You know, because a lesson plan is a lesson plan. For me, things like that, like the humanities, Black Bristolians, the PSHE one, the colour of football, I would imagine all of those would be quite quick for me to do. Okay. Whereas the maths, I don't have a specialism in maths, and it would be useful that whoever takes on the looking at it, it would be useful if they were in that field, if possible.
Yeah, that's what we'd like, yes.
And well, I'm a maths specialist. I taught maths for a few years at secondary level, but obviously I'm not a practicing teacher now. I'm a learning mentor, so I do bits in class and I do model lessons. But obviously my role is mainly more pastoral now. So of those, the only one I think I would be confident that I could quality assure to a high standard would be the first one, because obviously it's maths and Key Stage 2. Okay. I don't know if we want to like do that as a starting point, but yeah, equally I don't actually fall under the criteria of practicing teacher at the moment.
Maybe to widen that criteria, I think it's so long as someone's been a teacher. Do you know what I mean? I think so long as someone's got that experience, maybe. What do you think? Because I think you could have been a practicing teacher and you've still got those skills, or you are a practicing teacher. I think it's about someone having taught and having the skills to know what it looks like in practice in a classroom and whether it'd work.
I think so, because you don't want to preclude people who are like on career breaks or things like that as well, either, do you, or retired even.
Yeah, because you might get some retired teachers, or you know, and I know a lot of teachers have decided not to teach anymore. So I think maybe I don't know how you would phrase it, Sibs, but people with a teaching, either practicing teachers or teachers with a teaching or people with a teaching background. Does that sound right?
Yeah, people with a teaching background.
That would be great, Flo.
Background. Yeah, no problem.
That first one, that sounds like a good fit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, put me down for it. No
problem. Coming your way. Esther, some lesson plans coming your way.
Yeah, I mean, if they're on a shared drive, we can pick them up and pop them back in again, can't we?
Yeah, and what would be good is when you do the edits, you have the one that we've sent, and then you've got the one that you've edited, and then you've got the final version. You know.
Would it be useful to edit in a particular color? Do you know, like, so let's say if you were looking at one of the schemes of work, and then you went, right, this, you know, they've used BAME here, but BME here, they're using, you know, the wrong term there, or, you know, they need to extend that. Would it be useful to kind of put that in a different color, and then you would see that quite immediately, rather than having two documents to look at? I usually, I don't know about you, Flo, I usually find that quite a lot easier, because then it is quicker to change.
Yeah, although do you not want the final one to be like ready to use, or would that be a later stage for it to be like approved and you go through and take all the highlighting out and kind of like, yes, we accept your rationale?
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is you would have your original, and then you would edit on, you know, because you're still going to have the original, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? And then you would edit on the original of what needs changing, and then the final bit was where it's changed and it's ready to go out.
Yeah,
I would say that these are all going to be on it's a Google shared drive, so any document, like Word document that you open in Google, you can track changes, so we'll be able to see all your edits without you even kind of doing an extra copy.
Yeah.
You may need to explain to people how to use track changes though, because sometimes some
It's
people.
automatic, I think. So if you're working on the Google document, it won't look like you're tracking changes, but I can see if I press a button after you're finished, if you see what I mean. So it just kind of does it automatically, which is quite helpful. But if there's anything, I mean, if you've got like a resource that you want to make edits to, that might be a little bit more complex. So yeah, we might have to take a look at all the resources.
Have you got one that you can put in and show like as a model, like this is what it should look like when you finish quality assuring it, just because you don't want to create loads of admin at the end if people have done it in slightly different formats?
Yes, so we've got a template which will be on this shared drive as an example. All these schemes of work here have also been done to that template, so it shouldn't be too far away from what we've asked for, but it will be useful to see the template anyway, just to like see what the original kind of ask was.
If let's say for instance you looked at something, let's say I looked at the colour of football, and then you made some edits of either what you think would kind of make it better or more consistent or whatever it happened to be, who do you then send it back to the people that did it and say, oh, we're considering adjusting it like this, are you happy with that? Or what happens? How is that phased?
Yeah, so
yeah, we will need to check all the edits because this is authored work by like specific people. But I think what we'll do is, if there's a lot of different kind of variations and we want it to be consistent, we'll have to check with the steering group, like to make a call on things so that it's consistent across everyone's schemes of work before we send stuff back to approve.
So what do you mean by, I mean, I'm just...
So like, do we want to go for BAME or BME or global majority people, that kind of thing? That's a call that will have to be made like once we have a large enough group of teachers of colour to decide what's the most appropriate term, and that call to be approved by the steering group.
Okay, and then I mean, I know that that's under discussion. I've seen lots of things at the moment where there is nothing, no one has come to a decision. And even if you look at change makers with Marvin and Asher and all of those people in there as well, you know, that's a debate that they're currently going on with. So I guess at some point somebody will make a call on that. But I'm thinking more in terms of, let's say for instance, I looked at the colour of football and I thought to myself, these are the changes that I think you should make. Does that then go back to the teacher that made it and they make the final edit and then send it back again, or what is the
We'll
process?
just get approval, so we'll send them the edited version, unless if there's like a really major thing, like we want them to change a whole part of their scheme of work or their whole lesson. We might have to have a more in-depth conversation, but I'm envisaging that we'll just have the original, the edited version, and we'll send it back for approval.
yeah, I mean,
So then,
we're not expecting that the quality assurance team is making major changes to the scheme of work. We just, that they are looking at it and editing the text or looking at the tone of what is explained. If there's major changes, then we'll go back to the person or the team that was responsible for coming up with it. If there isn't
no,
any
I'm not
major
thinking.
changes,
I'm not
then we
thinking of
wouldn't
major
go
changes.
back to
Sis.
it.
All I'm thinking is, I know that when people write, you know, they might write something and then you might edit it. And so I was just seeing the process of, does it then go back to them with the edited and they edit it and send it back, having looked at what we've said, and how does that feed into the timescale?
So we're not expecting that when we send it back, if they have any edits, this probably isn't a large amount of edits, right? But we're hoping that within that 3rd of December, if there's any that needs to be re-edited by the people that originally made it, then those would be the few that go that way, whilst we're still cracking on with the design. And then when they come back, then we just add them into the design.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully within the 3rd and let's say the 7th, any of the ones where we need people to come back and the original people that made it to look at the edited version, then hopefully that's what we'll do. But hopefully by the 3rd, we've got enough that haven't got major changes that we can move into the design phase. Yeah. We don't have enough.
I just wanted to know the process. That's all. Just like, you know,
I know.
how it's going to work.
We don't have enough capacity to do many. If there was many edits, then we'll probably stop and say we'll come back next year, because we don't have that much capacity to do the ups and downs. You know what I mean?
I'm not expecting a lot of edits. What all I'm thinking is, with teachers making the resources, I mean, I imagine there'd be very few. With some of the communities making the resources, we may have some that we say, oh, well, you know, it'd be better if you did it like this, and then it's just for them to go, yeah, I'd be because everyone's very different, and they might be happy to change or not. So I was just looking at the process and how long the process would be, and how quickly, because the 3rd of December is just 2 weeks away, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kind of see the teachers as really having the final input.
Yeah, I'm just saying the 3rd of December is very, very quick. So in terms of being able to look at those and then send them back, and then for them to come back, is that's all I was just thinking of, what the timescale would be. Are you saying the timescale for us to get it to you is the 3rd, or the timescale for them to get it back to you is the 3rd?
It's for everyone in this team, the quality assurance, to send back their edits to us
by the 3rd.
Okay. So you've got those schemes of learning there. Is there a limit on the number of quality assurance people that you need? So if, like, you know, if I was to say to Tracy, or they want to do this, or to Rupert, or to some of those people, you know, do you want me to send more people your way that way?
Please do. We've got more schemes of work than are here currently. If we've got about 21, so at least 21 people, unless people are doing multiple schemes each. So if there are more people that you know of that might be interested, please do send them our way.
Okay.
And what we'll do, as you suggested there, is that depending on the faculty in which they sit, so we can, you know, because right now you've got it as maths, history, English, drama, English. So we could then just compartmentalize them and say, these are the English, these are the history, these are the PSHE. So if a faculty of people say, I do English, and then the English team takes on all those English ones and they do them their way, the history team comes together and, you know, and then they can quality assure amongst themselves within that history group, and quality assure themselves within the English group. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
we could do it that way. If that's just maybe easier, that they're all just checking what the other person did and they just circulate it amongst each other, and then they just agree, and then we just get the final versions from them.
Okay.
Yeah. So does that, yeah, as if we do it by faculty, and then we make this scheme of work by maths, put all the maths ones together, put all the history ones. I know some of them mix into different subjects, but we could just put it into one block, and then look for the teachers or the schools that will do each of those schemes of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the Christian Cole Black Oxford Scholar? Because that doesn't seem to have a subject at the minute. What subject is it?
This subject, it could be in multiple ones, so that's why this wasn't written by a teacher. This was written by an academic from Oxford University. So she's done a scheme of work, of a smaller scheme of work around the biography of Christian Cole, who was one of the first African Black scholars at Oxford University. So as you can see, there's some others there that have a lot of different subjects. So that's why we also need the teachers in this team to have a bit of a critical eye and figure out which is the best subject for that to fit into and what's the best year group, because some of these people aren't teachers. They're not exactly sure where their scheme fits best. So I can put the subjects in there. I will update that so you can see.
I would imagine that one would go in citizenship, because I'm not sure where else you could put it. in terms of it wouldn't sit in history and it wouldn't sit in geography. It wouldn't sit in RS. So
yeah, well, it could be.
Where were you thinking it would go?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Citizenship and drama. It's got a play linked with it. So citizenship, drama, and English. She's got some YouTube. There's a DVD about Kristen Cole. I think he was a law student. Yeah, so it could sit within there. She does these talks around the country about Kristen Cole. So, and there's a website about it, so we can look a little bit more and find that information.
And it might be, I mean, some of these might be good topics, you know, when they have collapse days as well, you know, or I don't know whether it would sit in Black History Month as well, you know, in terms of, you know, we talked about how when you go onto a website, it would link you up with others. I would imagine that would go really nicely in the Black History Month.
Yeah, that would be good actually. We'll make a note of that.
Thank you. And are you good, Azili?
Yeah, I'm good. Just if anyone's got any questions or anything they want to ask before we wrap up.
Yeah, I've got a question about resources.
Yeah.
You mentioned like YouTube videos and that kind of stuff. Is it okay? Are we expecting that everyone's made their own content, or are they able to like link to existing content that's already online?
Are you asking if these schemes of work have existing resources associated with them?
Yeah, so like, do they say, you know, go onto this website and use these photos or this video? Like, is that okay, or do we have? Is there a copyright issue around that, or do we have to make our own resources for each scheme?
You don't need to make any resources. So some of these have PowerPoint, some of them have homework sheets or kind of resource books for children.
DVD.
They are responsible for their content that they've put in there in terms of copyright. So we're not expecting you to like check that or to write any new resources. But what I would say about the resources is they're quite varied. And we've kind of just come to terms with that. Some people have got like all the PowerPoints look different and things like that, but we're not worried about that. What we're concerned about is that the quality of the actual schemes of work is consistent. So we're expecting the resources to look quite different for each scheme of work.
Yes, okay, thank you. But sorry, just to clarify, are we expecting that the teachers themselves always make their own resources, or can they link to, you know, other resources in other places?
It's both. So they'll have made something themselves which could reference other people's stuff, and it should be properly referenced, but it will, yeah, a lot of them do have external resources tied into what they've put there, whether it's books or videos.
Like the color of football. She's got the interview with the footballer. She's got a DVD linked with it. She got workshops. Kristen Cole, equally the same. There's a drama.
I think maybe what Nisha's referring to is the copyright issue and how we stand on the copyright issue. I don't know if that's what you mean, Nisha, but in terms of copyright, you know, I think the issue that there is from the One Bristol Curriculum point of view. If somebody makes a resource, let's say I make a resource and then I use YouTube videos in my resource, are you saying, well, I'm responsible for that resource? So if I've used it, One Bristol Curriculum doesn't have any responsibility for me using that, or me going onto Google and downloading pictures that I might not have the copyright to use, but I've used it in the resource that I've made. Do you see what I mean? I think that is the copyright issue, and that is something that faces quite a lot of people in terms of can you use YouTube and stock photos? And I know some people like John, I was talking to John, and he was saying there was a particular website that you can go on where you're, you know, the copyright is free and you can use it. So I think that's just that's a question that maybe you want to think about, because people might ask you about.
Yeah, we've finished with the report, and there's a section that touches on the copyrights, and the suggestions, or the quickest suggestion that was suggested is if One Bristol becomes a publisher. In that way, it could always provide, I don't know, I think distribution funds for when images and things were used, as long as they were accredited within the schools. I don't fully know how that works, but if we're a publisher, then it works pretty easier than if we were not a publisher. But if a teacher does then choose to go on Google and take an image that they use on these slides, we would actually prefer that all the images that were used within One Bristol were images that were accredited, or that were images that have gone through that due diligence, and not just pick something and put it on. So if there are any of those images, I guess we'll come up with that issue.
But if you're quality assuring it, you're not going to be able to quality assure that. That is on the teacher.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
So you know, you wouldn't be. And I think that there is the issue. You know, if you look into the copywriting, in some cases, they're like, for education purposes, it's okay. I don't know how being a publisher gets you around that if you've got teachers that are using those images, because sometimes they don't know where those images have come from, or sometimes they've used it just because it's on Google, and not everyone understands the whole kind of copyright thing. So I think it's just an area maybe to kind of maybe get a bit of advice on.
Yeah, we'll continue, because it's a reoccurring topic.
And it will be. And I think you've got the issue of, as teachers, we're allowed to go onto YouTube and take stuff off YouTube and use it in our schools, because no one's paying for that material. It is just simply for educational purposes, and that's kind of understood. When you then say, well, I'm One Bristol Curriculum, and we're taking all the resources, putting them there, it's whether we are allowed to, because we're providing an educational function, and it still will be housed under education, whether that would be okay or not okay. And I'm sure there will be someone that could maybe advise us on that.
Okay.
And I was also thinking about, you know, like resource websites. I don't know if any of the teachers have done this, but for example, the TES, you can download ready-made PowerPoints, and you know, some of them are really professional looking. So just to make sure, is that acceptable, or that's somebody else's work and shouldn't be used, and actually the teacher should have made their own PowerPoints, for example.
I don't think if a teacher were to download something from TES and then to put it into One Bristol Curriculum as their own, I don't think that would be accepted. I don't know, that's my gut feeling would be that would be,
like, even if it was credited, is that still okay? Because there might be some of those resources are now paid for, and even if you say, I got this off the TES, it was made by this person, then I don't know if that's okay or not.
I know what you mean.
You're not
because
supposed to share things which are supposed to, you pay for the rights to use those in certain circumstances. So strictly speaking, you should only use things which they've stipulated in their copyright that it's okay to share, like use them freely.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they would have either had to have to do something with them, or to contact the person, because you can contact the person and just say, is it okay for me to use it like this, or I've transformed it into that. But I do think you could lead into really murky waters if you were taking stuff off TES and then going, right, and now it's going to appear here and with a different name, even if you accredit it and say, well, I bought it, it's like me buying some false hair, isn't it, and putting on a weave and saying it's mine because I bought it. Yeah, there's murky waters there.
Yeah, and that's probably something that we'll be able to deal with when people want to submit. If they can just do a checklist about, is this work theirs? Has it been verified? Where did they get it from? You know, that kind of stuff. And then that will help us to know who's submitting it, where is it coming from, and then do we need to inquire further before we upload it. So nothing will be just automatically uploaded. It needs to go through some questions first. Yeah. And
can I ask a question going back to something that was mentioned earlier? I know you said these aren't all the schemes of works. Have you got any other that are primary level? Because obviously that's more suitable for me to share with my network, or are they all secondary?
There are some more primary ones, so I can email you directly about that, Flo, if you like. There aren't any other maths ones, unfortunately.
That's okay. Just in terms of who I can share it with, and I can share it like within some of the union groups as well. I need to go now because my doll's ready. Yeah. Is there anything else? I'm guessing there's going to be a follow-up email with links to that scheme of work that I've signed up for.
Yeah. And the video.
Yeah, I'll email you. You've put your email in the chat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll send you through the link.
Great. I'm on the group as well, with the WhatsApp group if you have any issues.
Great. All right, cool. Thank you, Flo.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Cool. Yes, so we'll follow up with this video link and communicate with you directly about the schemes of work that you've selected. And we'll also highlight what are the other schemes. So should you be interested in the other schemes of work, so that you know which ones are available. And as you said, Esther, you know, if you prefer the history ones, maybe we'll just put all the history ones together. Would that be secondary and primary, or you just prefer secondary?
Secondary, I mean, I've taught primary, so I can do it if needed, but secondary is better for me, because then I can just get the team together and ask them to look at it.
Okay, cool.
Because the nice thing there is it's not just one person looking at it, you know, 2 or 3, and then we can just say, yeah, we're happy.
So did you say history and citizenship?
Yeah, I can do citizenship as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Nice one. Any final comments?
Tracy was interested, and she does history as well.
Yeah.
So there's that, and I think we've got quite a few people who are humanities in the group, so you might be able to find a geographer, or I could ask someone maybe in Decolonizing Geography if
yes,
they
please.
would have a little look.
Yes, please. Yeah. I've joined the Decolonizing History one, I think.
Sorry?
I've joined the Decolonizing History.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Now in Decolonizing Geography, it's the same guy that runs both of them, and he said we're able to have all of the schemes of work. That he was happy, and I went to a meeting and verified that they were happy with that. And I'll ask him the same for Decolonizing History. That would give us hundreds of lessons more that we could actually pop it onto our website. So when we're kind of talking to people about how much we've got, there would be far more there than it looks like.
Yeah.
The thing that Azali would probably need to do is they do also have that kind of share drive, and then you would have to be able to look on there and take them off and sort them out a little bit, but there is a lot there already. And like I said, he was happy for us to have that, and that would increase the number of lessons we've got massively. And if we were able to do the same with the history, I'm also on Decolonizing Science, and I haven't asked them yet, but yeah, I've joined all of the group SIBs.
Cool. Well, we'll start with what we have, and then slowly build those relationships to be able to then ask them and get, have a discussion with them a little bit more than just saying, can we use these, but just get them involved in the One Bristol approach of quality assurance. And if they can actually just do the quality assurance, then it's ready, then it's like, that's even better.
Well, I've spoke to Dave, who runs the Decolonizing Geography. One of the things that did come up when we were talking separately about quality assurance is you can't have people that have written it quality assurance their own material.
Yeah.
So you'd have to get someone else to do it anyway.
Yeah. Can you do an email intro with is it Dave, you said?
Yeah. Just should I send you the link to Decolonizing Geography?
Yes, please, on WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'll follow up. Sorry, the decolonizing history, decolonizing geography, and science.
Science, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't done a lot with the decolonizing science. I need to do a bit more.
It's all right. I'll be right on top of them. Cool.
Right. Yeah, I'll send you the link. Oh.
All right, no problem. So should we wrap it up over there? And once again, Esther, we are now looking at the next meeting will be the steering group one, hopefully, and then the branding one, hopefully, and then when we send you the email, we'll send you some suggested dates around those. I think Azali got in touch with you to find out the emails so we can.
Oh no, I haven't done that yet. Actually.
Oh, okay. So we're after the contact details for the steering group, so we can just start getting them aware, blah 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 blah, before we do the handover to the city office.
So in terms of the branding, because they would want to know what the branding is, and in terms of obviously making sure that we're moving forward with the website, you know, would that be ready before
No,
before we meet with them, or because I think we really need to get a push on with the branding, just because I know Fiona's been asking. Yeah,
the branding would be ready, but nothing about the website. Yeah, the branding.
All right. Well, I'll yeah, we'll have a chat about that then.
Okay, cool. Nice one, ladies. Thank you very much. Do enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. So, Sibs, are you going to stay on? So